out of left field.
There was a brief stint, I believe it was Season 8, when Cyclone Spin absolutely refused to play any Hunters. It was Warriors every single game, and Yarkor could meet him there. So if anyone's going to be taking the Warriors into the duo lane, I think it'd be one of those two, and we got Yarkor in this matchup. I don't think it's poor, so long as you could find compositionally your ranged auto attack somewhere else, I think. Back then, we had said if you got a Hades with Polynomicon, there's your Phoenix Siege. Or if you take a Hunter mid, I'm just fine with it as well because there's your Phoenix Siege. So having big man things on Hachiman, just fine with me. I think Yarkor will hold his own. I don't think there's anything that like really necessitates having ranged autos in the duo lane. You're still going to have relatively good Phoenix Shred, or excuse me, Gold Fury Shred. You're still going to have relatively good initiation. I will be interested to see how the build develops for Yarkor. I imagine we're essentially just looking at another Soul Laner.
Yeah, I mean, and of course, he has played Soul Lane in the past, so someone's going to bring out the Warrior. You know, it's surprised that it is Yarkor. And Amaterasu is such a value pick. It feels like, you know, when you get to the team fights, you're just going to be happy to have one on your team. You get the Auras, you get the AoE CC. My concern maybe is over in this dual lane. You can already see the pressure coming through. Kerwin and Zapman have the Kings under their tier 1 tower. The Ymir and Heim maybe picks that are a little bit down in the tier list as well. Ymir, I think, only been played once thus far this phase. Herwin picks that up, and then the Heim we just saw last set. And we've seen Zapman on it before, but a bit of an interesting duo combination for the Ravens as well.
Yeah, the Heimdall in particular has been one that Zapman has gone towards pretty consistently. Likes it for the safety, likes it for a built-in teleport. We've seen him ride Bifrost all the way from base to Phoenixes at times, right? Just so he can get back and involved incredibly quickly. I think there is a bit of an interesting matchup here. If supports rotate out, and it's a big if, feels like now it's that 10-minute mark once supports vacate the lane, but once it does happen, if Yarkor isn't easily clearing wave, he's going to have to deal with the cleave auto attacks of Heimdall from range. If you're standing on melees, you're going to take at least a little bit of poke damage. That can be pretty annoying, but by the time it happens as well, Yarkor should have enough sustain from that first ability that it won't matter too much.
Poke here, Rivik down, but damage certainly coming through. Has to force the dash away. There's a lot of kill potential here if they're able to sort of combo everything together. Herwin, you just saw there, the ability to trap somebody. Go right up against the wall, forces the beads from Yarkor early on as well. You see the kill pressure. It'll be interesting to see, I agree, whether these supports rotate out or not, and even if they don't, you know, if this 2v2s continue to be looked at. On the other side of the map, though, that blue buff gets stolen away. A little bit of an invade from Scream on the Naja. On the other side, Twig taking advantage of the timing as well. He chooses to steal away the speed buff, and no fighting thus far, but some macro farms, some steals across the map.
Oh, watch out. Ven spotted this one out. He's seen this play plenty. I don't know if Captain Twig, if he takes the 5, he's fine.
Yeah, 5 here for Venenu, but off the mark with the ultimate.
Watch hurry.
Might chase him down. You've got the Ymir coming through, and a wall could be good. Beads get forced, but the wall's in the corridor, and he's trapped inside. Captain Twig falls for first blood over to the Cuckoo.
Yeah, we saw Lastra try and pull that trick plenty last week, so clearly the Highland Ravens have taken notice of it and catch out Captain Twig on a bit of over-aggression. I mean, even if he ticks over to level 5 with that much of a committal rotation from the Highland Ravens, I think it is highly unlikely that he makes it out of there alive. Even losing out on the beads make him a little bit less effective in the fight. Scream off the mark with his own ultimate. Not the biggest steal. Bit of a drop kill, though.
Off the mark a little bit, but I mean, that one kill and the little bit of farm that they stole away, that's going to net the Highland Ravens already a pretty large gold lead, 1,500 early on here, just 4 minutes into the game. And that may signal to the Ravens the side of the map that they want to keep focus on. We saw them have some success at that blue buff invade. And certainly a mage solo versus a guardian solo, the mage, you know, likely to have the pressure advantage there.
Yeah, I mean, who's not going to lose in lane to Hades, right? I don't think there's anyone that's saying, yeah, I just clear as well as he does, or I have as much sustain. So the ability for Haddix to continually be healthy once blue buff respawns, I think going to be a major concern for the Camelot Kings until we see a few more rotations. Erlong Shen has decent ability to box out up against a Hades, especially throughout the early game. If Haddox is allowed to full stack Book of Thoth, then get a little bit more damage or lifesteal, look towards defense, things are going to become very, very difficult for the Kings afterward. So I think you're right to say that pressure around blue might be an issue. Certainly now that Variety doesn't have ultimate.
Another one of those rotations, Variety. He pulls the trigger a little bit too early. That being said, he's got the rotation over from a couple members of the Kings. Sash in, and Twig makes his way out of the Pillar of Agony, but now the Soul Laners ult both down. They'll look for the steal, and they will take it away. Meanwhile, other side ultimates traded in the dual lane as well, and the Highland Ravens get every steal that they attempt and continue this pattern of just soft pressure, just consistent takeaway little by little. And even though they have only gotten the one kill yet, this might be the turnaround, but it's safety like that. Zap can just press 4, doesn't even have to fight anymore.
I'm surprised Yark actually doesn't use the beads there. Maybe realizing Zapman had that Bifrost available, even if he had used the 9 realms, would have just teleported himself out. And so holding on to that defensive relic, a bit of value there for Yarkor. Man, maybe you could at least force out the beads from Zapman with the dazzling offensive. Hard to say. I'll trust Yarkor's judgment there. Maybe Twig not willing to take that fight either just yet. So, reset the neutral in the duo. This time, though, Zapman without ultimate might have a target on his back if Captain Twig can make his way over to the left-hand side. But here's the thing about Erlong Shen and jungling in general. Start to fall behind, especially on Erlong. Makes you really want to start sitting in that jungle, farm it up. Make sure you're not falling too far. Scream already about a half level, maybe entire level lead. Things going to become concerning. And just think about Scream. He's going to build how he builds, and this time it's Bruiser Naja, likely a Breastplate of Valor in second slot. Get that CDR to 40%. Windfire Wheel is always going to be up.
You can see him planning for that setup off the bat, and it's maybe the driving factor behind this 10th pick to call. Certainly no focus on it we've seen this phase thus far, so I think it is a pick that we've seen Venenu go to during his career. But this ultimate, something that they're playing a lot on the just pure setup, right? Like you have one thing, and we talked about this in the desk a little bit earlier. You've got 1 or 2 avenues that your team can fight through. You're trying to find a pick, but you know, if they get to the team fight phase and somebody beats his Naja ult or things are off the mark and you lose the value on that Cuckoo ult.
Really?
How does your team fight go?
I mean, you still have massive damage output from the Highland Ravens, speaking of Cuckoo Ultimate. Just thrown out towards the center of the map. Scream, left alone. Should be an easy pickup here, but creates the space with Windfire Wheels and makes himself scarce. Unfortunate for the Camelot Kings, double ultimate commitment and nothing to show for it, barring beads off the jungler of the Highland Ravens. I don't think I'm overly concerned with Ven needing Spirit of the Nine Winds in the late game team fight. Tornado's going to do massive damage. Haddox is going to have follow-up with CC. Even Hurry Wind, to a certain degree, has got plenty of opportunity to just full channel Shards of Ice for landing as well. There's a lot of burst to play with.
Wow, damage here. Ting's caught between the Tornado. They'll find the dash away. The beats get forced, though. Not enough on the ring toss to finish off that kill. The jungle mid matchup continues to be a little bit volatile. I think Scream, you can see him forcing that pressure. This could still be a little bit of pressure if he wanted to continue and had the ultimate available in just a couple of seconds. But we'll be back off, and as we sort of round around the 10-minute mark, the Highland Ravens have continued to build this lead off of just that singular kill. It was 1,400 right away. Now it's closer to 3,000 almost. You know, every lane pretty much has half level to a level lead, maybe outside of the solo lane. But even where they don't have huge XP leads, it feels like they've had pressure everywhere.
Put pressure, totem control. The Highland Ravens doing a good job of just taking everything that's easy on map. Neutral camps, poking and prodding, taking away even just the small camps on green there we saw from Scream, blue buff invades. This time not going to go the way of the Highland Ravens Variety. Able to secure that one for himself, but this gold lead is accumulating quickly. I mean, before even the 10-minute mark, starting to get into that 3,000 to 4,000 range. I wonder now if the Highland Ravens are confident enough in their ability to just force a fight around Gold Fury. We talked about the Camelot Kings and their ability to shred the objective, and that's still true. Auto attacker in mid, jungle, and ADC will give you that. But as far as Secure is concerned, the Camelot Kings can never match up with the Ravens of God.
Small engagement here on the left-hand side. Yark, no stranger to these small skirmishes, especially with the Warrior. And you guessed it right at the beginning of the match. These supports, no willingness thus far to rotate out of the duel, and they've kept it at 2v2 over here through the 10-minute mark. Variety, though, he's feeling ready to rotate. Before he can even get in, allows Venenu to escape and scream. He has to get onto the ultimate, but Variety finds the last bit of damage, and the soul lane rotation comes to fruition. They grab the first kill for the Kings. Action continuing though, and Yark, as soon as the supports leave, they find the 1v1 zap off the mark with the ultimate. Finds the escape after the fact, but some close damage on the left side.
Yeah, Yark able to get out some of those resources, takes the ultimate and the beads now. So Zapman, as susceptible to a gank as he's ever going to be on this Heimdall. Might have a target on his back, and Captain Twig can now make the rotation over to the left-hand side. Yarkor was just waiting for his opportunity to fight back in. Finally has it once those supports are out. I wonder. The Bifrost ride from Zapman too, a little bit interesting. Rides it out, immediately walks back to exactly where he was, perhaps concerned about a counter rotation there from the Camelot Kings. Captain Twig did show himself on left side, clearing out that shield buff. But haven't seen a committal fight from the Kings. Haven't seen them try and close up this lead. It's more so felt like the Kings are just playing to mitigate loss as opposed to make up the difference. I think that Erlong Shen will want to get involved sooner rather than later. It's not as if Tank Erlong or Bruiser Erlong or even full auto attack Erlong is a phenomenal late game scaler, as opposed to Scream, who's always going to have value if you could take someone in the air. Feels like Captain Twig may be a little bit more focused towards that early to mid game and on his efficacy.
I'm curious about that solo rotation as well. Variety ends up in the mid lane at 10 minutes. Hold that thought though. Darkor, Twig over here. No beads on Zapman. Remember, ultimate down as well. Good teleport though. Good self-peel from Heim, so he'll stay alive at the beacon. Now onto the map. Highland Ravens have the advantage here, at least in terms of positioning, but this could turn into a full-on fight if some ultimates are found. Twig forced to use the beads, but he's caught out away from his team, and the ultimate could be there. Pillar of Agony grabs one, and the full engage is on. Camelot King turning things around, and Hurwin, the first to fall. They've got pressure on the beacon.
So surprised. Ven holds on to his ultimate for that entire skirmish. It's a lot of CC to play with. Could have played off the fear from Haddix, the sash from Scream instead. Holds on to that massive nuke, even with the Camelot Kings grouped up as significantly as they were. I mean, if you just connect a stray shot on even a non-priority target, maybe that fight goes a little bit better. Maybe Hurwin survives. Instead, early rotation from Variety gets the jump on Haddix. Captain Twig just survives the onslaught of Tornadoes, Zephyr, and auto attacks. The Highland Ravens can't really secure the kill post 9 turns Blessing heal. The Camelot Kings find themselves a good-looking skirmish.
They found the fight. Seems like in the last couple of minutes, they've turned things on their head. But the Highland Ravens, they won't take it sitting down. Instead, they'll execute their combo perfectly. Burn the beads off Twig in mid, find him in the Naja ult, and that's exactly how they drew it up.
I mean, Scream's going to have Naja ult back pretty quickly, too. Already 1/4 of the way there. But Ven doesn't have just about any CDR in build outside a starter item, meaning that his ultimate not exactly synced up on timer. Maybe that's why he's being a little bit more withholding with it. Wants to make sure he does find the value.
Beads forced onto Yarkor. Small fight over on the right side as well. Pyromancer was picked up for a second. Feels like all of a sudden both teams have just found the willingness to fight. Like we were waiting for 10 or 11 full minutes, and now you've gotten these small engagements. The supports, they're maybe the difference makers. They leave left lane, and all of a sudden it's Hurwin, it's Quig trying to force these engagements.
Yeah, I've been loving the walls from Hurry. Has really good interaction with just about everybody on the Camelot Kings. Only Variety has an easy way to deal with it, and so should be easy for the Ravens to start up fights. That said, the backline disruption that Quig affords his team certainly strong too. Can close gap on the bend, make it a little bit more difficult to survive. Presence from Hurry, but I don't think he can really commit to the steal.
Yeah, he'll be up there. He'll be a little bit annoying, you know, support plays. But the pressure here, where do we find it? Once again, Highland Ravens, they're going to pick up the Pyromancer. It looks like they may get away with the 3-1. maybe not shredding it as fast as they initially thought, but I mean, to my surprise, they're focusing a lot here on the Pyromancer. No fights over gold quite yet. 15 minutes in, I would think the Ravens, the onus is on them to try and force something around one of these objectives.
Yeah, I mean, Zapman's getting a bit bullied in the dual lane, so ability to rotation towards gold maybe easier for the Kings at this point. Yarkor playing on tower line, keeping Zapman there. Yarkor leaves the lane for just a second, though, and exactly that. The Howland Ravens will rotating towards gold. If it comes down to a coin toss, it's always chaos.
They've got Secure on map, looking forward, and they find the Gold Fury. The fight afterwards, though, Scream forced to use the Windfire Wheels defensively. It's still slow. The beads get forced. The blink in from Twig. I don't know if he has the damage. Would have to use the ultimate and not willing to do so. Beautiful disengage from the Highland Ravens. They get the gold, they get out.
I mean, it's just so simple. If Ven has ultimate, there is not a single thing the Camelot Kings can do to match that level of burst. Good freeze from Hurrywin and a better wall.
Wow.
Will keep all three members of the Camelot Kings at bay. You lose the neutral farm, but you maintain your lives. And all the while, Haddock's keeping pressure up on that right-hand side, I believe. Another blue buff invade successful for him. Variety not able to secure this one. So it's the Highland Ravens all the way across the map, making it look good.
Fantastic peel there from Hurrywin, as you mentioned, and Doug had a really fantastic highlight as well. The second item out of Hurrywin on the Ymir, the Berserker Shield. Previously a fully physical item. First time we've seen it on support, I believe, especially Ymir. I mean, where is this coming from?
Face Punch Ymir wants to make use of a Frostbite. Has decent protection stats on it, too. I don't hate it as a pickup. It really does turn him into more so of a mid-game threat. Instead of just being a facilitator, hey, I threw up my wall, I landed my 2, that's the bulk of my damage. I sure hope Ven's got it from here. Hurrywin can take things into his hands a little bit more so. Benefits pretty well from that passive, too. It's interesting. It's an adaptation, and I think it's one that we might see a little bit more of. I'm actually a pretty big fan of this pickup.
Yeah, Hurrywin definitely innovating on the forefront of the meta, picks up the Ymir, and so far is creating a lot of pressure. Once again, the group up from the Ravens around this Pyromancer. They've got 4, and a little bit late to the rotation are the Kings. And what? No! They steal it away. I think that's the pin over the wall from Twig. They trust the secure from Venenu, but it gets stolen away.
I mean, not just Ven. Hurry also used Shards of Ice, too, so either one of those two abilities more damage than anything the Camelot Kings could have done. Unfortunately, time probably just leaves it at maybe 100 HP. Captain Twig makes use. That's why you gotta attempt it. You can't trust that your enemies are always gonna play it perfectly, even in just showing up and saying, hey, if you make a mistake, you're gonna lose it. The Camelot Kings do grab themselves the Pyromancer, put Weaving Bomb in the pocket of Twig. Generally around that 17-18 minute mark is when you start looking towards that mid tower and start putting some pressure out, open up the map a bit, make it easier to look towards fire. Would love to see the Camelot Kings try and knock down that tier 1.
Damage here on Variety. Screams in the area. Hurrywin rotating over as well. This might be a push onto the tier 1. Health bar is pretty low on the solo side if they want to try and chase down Variety. And right as the blue buff is spawning as well. I don't know if he sniffed this out. Looks like the wall, though, will be a disengage. And this is what concerns me about the Highland Ravens playstyle, because they have almost, like, they turned it on for a second and they were willing to fight the Kings over a beacon, over an objective, and now they've almost flipped the switch in the other direction, and they're doing everything to avoid a fight. And if they get a free pick, sure, they'll find one, they'll use their combo. But at some point, it feels like they're going to have to fight, have to find a 5v5.
Yeah, but even then, that's a low returns engagement on the right-hand side. I think the unwillingness to full commit there makes sense. So you have your resources for something like this. Scream gets beads. Be able to double dip here, go back in with the ultimate.
I think he used the ultimate of his own. Does get that heal off.
2 beads.
Burns the set of beads. Still has not used the Windfire Wheels as well. That's a ton of value just from the pressure that Scream provides standing next to the Kukulkan. And that's exactly what they're looking for, to build on a larger team fight a little bit later.
So now Captain Twig and Big Man Tings taken to the air will not be able to input another control before they're in the grayscale. Ven's damage plus Scream should just be enough to knock them down. Massive threat from the Naja. Forcing a fight would only favor the Highland Ravens now, while those defensive relics are down. And they've got Oracle Vision on Primal Fury. The only concern I think the Howling Ravens run into there is if we use our Cuckoo ultimate to confirm objective, who's actually finding the kill off of Scream's ultimate? You can maybe trust Hurrywind's damage output from there. Get Zapman involved too. He's got a lot of penetration stacked up between Executioner and Dominance. And instead a reset once more. Giving space to the Primal Fury. It's the Camelot Kings on the scene first.
Vision here from the Ravens, though. This is a full commit. Frenzy pop. Zap has the steal potential, but the Kings, they find the window, and they secure the Primal Fury. But Twig, no beads available, and the ultimate will find him from Zap. The CC comes through. No win needed. They don't need the Serpent of the Nine Winds. They will find the kill without it. They at least trade one back for the Gold Fury, but a beautiful window of time there found for the Camelot Kings. And now, Highland Ravens, they're all walking towards the Fire Giant. I don't know about this.
Man, Ven's trigger discipline on that ultimate is just amazing. Only using it when it is absolutely necessary, and in holding on to it, that's what creates this threat around Fire Giant. They can still trust the confirm.
Alrighty, pressure onto him, and no beads for the Cerberus as well. He still has the ultimate, though. If he needs to use it, he might just have to. The jump away comes up in time. They expend the ultimate from Hurrowwind as well, but Scream looking for it. They'll find the ultimate, though, and pouncing off the wall there is the Cuckoo damage, and Zapman grabs the kill onto Quig on the other side of the fight. Highland Ravens maintain their positioning. They have to step off the big fire, though. Just look for the Pyromancer. They'll secure 2 kills and grab the smaller objective.
Man, just call Scream the beads collector, because the Camelot Kings cannot hold on to him when he's around. Fire Giant pulled once more. Yarkor's got the flank, but it's a hard task.
They found him in the back line, and immediately the focus is on to the Amaterasu. Variety stepping up, as is Twig. This chase down, though, they've got to find the damage combo. A great wall keeps him locked in, though, and the CC is not enough from the rest of the team. They find him on the flank and take down the ADC. And now the chase continues. Variety, Captain Twig running away down the mid lane, but all 5 members of the Highland Ravens, they're on the push. Captain Twig trying to make space, but they turn around onto him, and they look to kill the Erlong Shen. They survive with Variety. That's a 2 for 0 for the Ravens.
It's a classic Smite interaction here. I call it the conveyor belt. When things start to go bad, you start rotating in. Can't let Fire Giant go down. Can't let the Highland Ravens get any more done. Yarkor feels that pressure, goes in alone in that back line. It's an immediate turn. Captain Twig says, well, maybe we can peel out or get a 1-for-1 trade. Conveyor belts himself in there. Goes down once again, now 0-4 on that jungle, and the Highland Ravens, even in not even taking the Fire Giant, just by grouping up on it, have created so many opportunities to push their lead further through PvP. Love this aggression on map from the Chaos side, but kills only get you so far this late in the game. It's about what you can do with them. Still like to see them sooner rather than later group up on that fire and commit to actually knocking it down. There's not going to be any point in this game, especially now that Ven's stacked up so much damage and build, that there's going to be threat of steal from the Camelot Kings so long as that ultimate is well timed. So group up on it, create that threat, force the Camelot Kings to respond. We saw it earlier, so easily done because of all the beat Screams had burnt. I believe it was Big Man Tings and Twig before the fight. You can do it in the fight now. You've got so much tankiness on your jungler, so much sustain as well. But you don't have the burn, because Zapman's just dead.
Well, they've got the target focus on Variety, but a wall freeze off the mark as well. Without the burn, I don't know if they can pick this up. It will at least be an attempt here. This may be a bait, though. Just looking for the Kings to step in, and they'll find Variety doing so. He's got the tank stats to survive the step up. That pick on Zapman really slows down what the Ravens were trying to look for, and may even open up a window for the Kings to try and force an objective. Primal Fury spawning, Yarkor backing, will be back soon enough. This fight is split a little bit, though. They could still look for an engage.
Camelot King starting to work their way forward. Good ultimate from Variety, picks up 2. Those tornadoes separating the fight.
Whoa, double freeze onto 2 and a 3-man Kukulkan ultimate forces the Kings down low. A
Goodness.
great wall, big man Kings trapped in the Pillar of Agony, and Haddix finds the first pick. Scream trapped between 2 though, he separated himself in the fight. Haddix has a double,
peel.
but the peel is there. Statman with the Through the Realms takes Yarkor to lunch, and Scream grabs the 3rd kill of the fight. They're chasing down Quig as well. Haddix looking for his 3rd in the fight if he can find it, and it will be Ben grabbing the 4th onto Quig. The Highland Ravens on a dime turn the fight around.
The Highland Ravens are just so tanky. Hurry with wall placement and freezes were perfect. Great ultimate from Ben, displaying that trigger discipline once more. So many opportunities up until that point to just hit one. He says, I'll wait until all the Camelot Kings are grouped up, until I can hit multiple targets, separate an entire team fight, and does so beautifully. Zetman gets re-involved, but really only is able to get involved in the peel. Love everything I saw from him there. Scream distracting Yarkor on his own. Yarkor clearly caught off guard just by how durable this Naja is. It's the Highland Ravens now with Fire Giant on all 5 and plenty of resources to play with. You'd think they'd have to use a few sets of beads, right? At least one after a fight that goes that long. Incorrect. Every single set of beads still available to the Ravens.
Sheesh.
Siege looks pretty decent. I wonder, does Ven have enough for Poly on back? If so, Siege looks even better.
Even better, potentially, for the Phoenix Siege. He sells the Party Punch. He purchases an item. It is indeed the full Polynomicon on back. Just as they've been playing these fights, meticulous, objective, secure, focused, trigger discipline, slow and steady from the Highland Ravens, I would expect their siege to be no different. Still plenty of towers up on the map, 5 out of the 6 total for them to take, so plenty of global gold for them to fill their pockets with. But this feels to me already like a Fire Giant that you were trying to use to secure the next Fire Giant.
No. The base defense of the Camelot Kings being as weak as it is, had the Highland Ravens been able to play a little bit faster there, I think they could have pressured in towards the Phoenix. Instead, Camelot Kings get the jump. Best defense is good offense. Let's go ahead and start sieging ourselves. Push out on that right-hand side. Tier 1, Tier 2 taken. But can you get out alive? That Ymir wall makes it so hard to escape.
Variety. Forced to jump away. Got a little bit of safety. Good stun there is right. Variety. I don't think they have enough for the chase, but this is certainly the Highland Ravens doing their due diligence. They'll take down the left 2 towers. They'll take down the Tier 1 in mid and set up to push this Tier 2 as well. All ultimates in the tank. I'm looking at the relics as well. Beads available for everybody on the Camelot Kings. They don't want to step up, though. They'll give away the Tier 2 tower, set up for the Phoenix defense.
See, the Camelot Kings, it's going to be a bit of a struggle keeping those waves at bay. Keep my eyes on wave clear in particular. Variety steps out of base for a moment, takes a good deal of damage. And it's worth noting again, 2 Runic Bombs to play here.
Runic Bombs down, Freeze just slow things down, and the ultimate comes through for space. Highland Ravens take no damage. Everybody is full HP except for the Phoenix on the left-hand side. That one is gone.
So easy for the Highland Ravens to close that gap. Hurrywin says, hey, they're not here yet. Let's just go ahead and take it. And they do. Camelot Kings a bit slow on the uptake, trying to separate that map. Yarkor was pushing mid. So the Highland Ravens say, okay, Yarkor's not here. Yarkor's the only one really getting anything done. Let's go ahead and do as much as we can, taking the most valuable bird on map, and still have a little bit more pressure they could play with. Fire Giant timer, only 40 seconds on it. Won't get too much done with it. But with the Tier 2 tower still standing on right, maybe the Highland Ravens spend time pushing there as opposed to just waiting in the jungle for Fire Giant to spawn. Could force the Camelot Kings to group up, constrict where they're allowed to play, restrict the ability for the Kings to just push on map. I think it's a good idea for the Ravens to keep up their pressure.
This next Fire Giant will tick over past 30 minutes. So there's potential for an EFG here. Do you see those pings on the map? They've pinged this path all the way looping around behind the Tier 1 tower in mid. I wonder if they are going to look to catch somebody out. It's going to be Variety actually up into the air when Fire Wheels focus, and the damage is massive on landing. It's enough to take out the solo laner. Sole defense of a tier 2.
Pushing.
Not gonna work there. Yarkor, he's in mid. It's gonna be a 5v3 on the immediate engagement here. And Tings, he's the focus off the bat.
No way.
Just narrowly gets away, but the fight's on the other side out of the Phoenix, and Captain Quig makes the space necessary for the back off on the Ravens. They don't get the Phoenix, but they get the tier 2, they get a pick. It's looking good for the EFG.
If Sash connects, I mean, it's just big man Tings' life. Unfortunately for Scream, slightly off the mark there. Haddix playing with so much damage, actually gets the full value of his passive on Wave, the damage on the big man Tings. One more tick, the ultimate would have secured the kill. Tings avoids that with his own ultimate. Highland Ravens playing very fast. I love the idea to continue sieging there, even without Fire Giant. I believe it wears off just as they walk into that Phoenix line, but with Variety dead, who's going to stop you? But slight execution errors do cost the Ravens the ability to knock down the bird. That said, though, get exactly what they had set out to do. Knock down the tier 2, constrict the positioning of the Camelot Kings, and put themselves, the Highland Ravens that is, in a very good position to just go ahead and pull the fire.
Now, if you're the Camelot Kings here, you've got the Fire Waves on left, Variety can teleport to this. I don't even know if I'm going to get a chance to ask you this question, because Herwin's wasted no time. They've picked up this enhanced Fire Giant, and I don't know if the Kings are in a position to do anything other than have a steal attempt. We've got the pin over the wall. We've got Quig with the wave. Variety's teleported in, though. And they forced them off of the EFG. Scream, he's in the backside. They might turn focus onto him, but the Kings, they've picked it up for the time being. They're doing the damage themselves.
Variety's taken so much of it, though, that he'll have to reset almost entirely. Doesn't have the teleport, so if he goes back to base, he's just out of the fight. Highland Ravens playing well around that poke. I think the unwillingness to leave it to a coin toss has to do with the fact that Ven's ultimate is just so critical to the Highland Ravens team fight. We'll see, though, another pull. Camelot Kings are going to be without Soul Laner for another 10 or so seconds.
This time, Fire Minions, they're pushing up on the left-hand side, so they're trading a Phoenix if they want to continue this fight. And it looks like they do. Quig into the ultimate. Yarkor, they found Haddix. He's swallowed alive. And he'll fall for the first in the fight.
Yikes.
Cuckoo ultimate is off the mark. And Heroin is trapped on the other side of a wall. The Camelot Kings fight back. They find 3. They turn the fight on its head. And they're still pushing down the right-hand side. They've got a Fire Wave in the left, and they'll get that too. Fight's not over. Scream's still around, but they're looking for EFG.
Scream. Find a bit of time here, playing with that durability, Zach, and considering a steal attempt. Camelot Kings don't have a whole lot of secure.
He's gonna go for it. He's got the first ability he's looking for, needs the damage, but they turn onto him perfectly. The Camelot Kings, you could not have drawn up a better team fight. They answer back at minute 31, and they have all the control in this game.
Such a massive fumble from the Highland Ravens. It's Haddix getting picked out so early in that fight. The Camelot Kings get to just run through the entirety of the Ravens afterward. Variety, big impact, his initiation. Catches out Ven, simplifies everything from there. And knock down the right side bird. EFG on 5 and desynced death for Zatman. It's gonna get worse before it gets better.
It's gonna get worse before it gets better.
Really?
If they decide to push, looks like they'll at least take their time. For right now, they grab the right Phoenix, they grab the mid-tier 2, and they do all of the work to come closer to evening up this gold lead. But at this point, Mifflin, I mean, we're at the point of the game. I'm not as worried about the gold. I'm not as worried about the experience. Everybody's level 20. We're hitting 3K power pots. You can see it there in Ven's back pocket. The teams are doing the damage that they're going to do. Sure, it's going to get a little bit higher as the game goes on. But, I mean, what is the fumble there? Is it just Haddix being too far forward? Because Venenu also, that's the first time I think he's gotten no value out of that Serpent of the 9 Winds.
I mean, the ultimate from Ven is essentially a panic ultimate. Okay, this fight has gone really bad. My initiator has already used the majority of his CC. I didn't have the follow-up, so I need to throw out something, and maybe if I clip a carry, the fight can be salvaged, or we can disengage. It'll be too low on the Camelot Kings to chase out. So that's a type of ultimate that you're you know, it's a 50-50 on whether or not you're actually going to connect with anybody when you're throwing it blind over a wall. I think the entirety of the issue for the Highland Ravens was miscommunication on goal. Are we sticking to the Fire Giant? Are we diving into the team fight? What is it that we're looking for? Seemed to me that 3 members of the Ravens said, yeah, let's disengage, we'll back up, Camelot Kings pull it, we'll look for a fight then. Haddix thinks either he's going to secure the objective with Ven's help, or the fight is good immediately, but because he's on a separate page, leaves himself isolated, and the Camelot Kings just tear through him.
They're set up to push down. 5 members with EFG. Plenty of time on this power play if they want to continue this, and it sure looks like they do. Yarkor, look at this flank all the way through the right-hand side. Scream's got eyes on it, but they're in on the left side, Phoenix, as well. Fight's coming from all angles, and the Camelot Kings, they're looking for the best way in.
Highland Ravens have vision on just about everybody. Nobody hiding their hand here on the Camelot Kings. Yarkor pokes his head in, takes a lot of damage from Haddix, but it's Captain Twig with the bomb, who may have overcommitted.
He may have overcommitted. He at least loses the ultimate.
Has Magi's.
They get the left side Phoenix, though, and the mid Phoenix down to 20% HP. They lose a couple of the ultimates, but that space is exactly what they needed. They put the focus onto Twig, and they lose the left side bird because of it.
Fun interaction there for Captain Twig. Eats the sash, but CC immunity. Means that no damage there. Can just go ahead and blink out afterwards. Scream gonna come up empty there. Cost him his blink. Mid Phoenix is real low. Go ahead, start putting some pressure there. I mean, you really only need 2 or 3 auto attacks.
You've
Big
got
Mad
2
Tings,
poly
I mean, he could do it.
Yeah, you've oh no, 1 poly character. Kuku's on the other side. Look at the flank though. Once again, it's Yarkor and Captain Twig. 2 warriors trying to find their way to the back. Good wall. BMT, he has to leave, and that might signal the end of the engagement. Irwin, he's been on point with these walls. It's Pick City. I mean, that might be the way back in it, because it's the smallest thing, and that's what the Ravens need. They need a Naja ult, they need a Heroin pick, they need a Heim ult to come through, because at this point, the Kings have flipped the game on a dime. 2 Phoenixes down and Fire Giant in 60 seconds.
There's so much setup on the Highland Ravens. I like how Scream is playing. So often he's had the opportunity to use Windfire Wheels on someone who doesn't have beads. He says, I'm going to hold on to it, because if it's down, nobody's beadsing my sash. And if nobody's beadsing my sash, that means nobody else on my team is going to find value from their CC. So Scream is leveraging the mobility and safety of Naja to be that constant threat. Give me your beads, and I'm going to walk out, and later Hurrywin's going to hit a wall, he's going to hit a freeze, and Ven's going to have the damage. Or Haddix is going to jump on you and hit you with a 2-second fear, and Ven's going to have the damage. I'm actually a massive fan of this non-committal hit-and-run style we've seen from Scream so far. And this game was so solidly in control of the Highland Ravens that it's just that one misstep around the Fire Giant that puts them in this critical position. So if the Ravens can get their base back and healthy, having already dealt with the last enhanced minion wave on right, left side Phoenix still a little ways away from respawning, I would still argue the Ravens are in a decent position.
My eyes are on one place, and that's the beads timer for Tings. He gets into the ultimate, though, early on, and Scream, despite the engage, he'll use his own set of beads, and the fight continues. Variety and Twig onto the back line, and Ven down to half HP, but it's Variety who gets turned around on, and the solo laner for the Kings is the first to fall. Twig will join him on the gray screen, and a double kill for the ADC. Zapman and the rest of the team pushing down mid.
Still have 1 runic bomb in play. Scream can knock down that bird with the help of his team. Highland Ravens, if you move for the Phoenix here, you're going to force the backs from the Kings. I actually really like that too. Could have immediately pulled the Fire Giant, saw that Amaterasu, saw that Yarkor was pushing on right, and said, if we pull fire, he threatens our Phoenix. If we threaten his Phoenix, he goes back. So just posture as if you're attempting to end the game, restrict his movement, then go back to the objective.
Venenu holds the ultimate. That fight to secure the Fire Giant this time around has to be perfect on it, and he is. Highland Ravens grab the EFG, and they're looking for more after the fact. Twig, the silence is beautiful, and Venenu grabs the jungler. It's down the mid lane. It's down the right lane now for the Highland Ravens. They've got all 5 members in EFG on all of them.
We got Respawn and Quig, Respawn on Variety. It's a 4-man defense from the Camelot Kings. With Zapman back in base defending his own Phoenix. He's slow rolling. Don't think we'll see the Highland Ravens walk into the throne room itself. Zatman has just revealed himself, clearing that wave, so Variety knows 4v4 on right.
This chase from the Kings. Venenu has no beats. He'll be taken out early in the fight. Variety, the first to grab a kill. Zatman firing back, but Yarkor finds the support. Heroin falls. Variety next on the menu, and Scream grabs the soul lane, but they trade 3 for 2, make it 4 for 2. 3 members still alive for the Highland Ravens, and they've got a wave to push with them in all the way back at their base. They don't have anything. This would be just the 3 of them against the Titans. Quig has to go huge. The double fire blink, they shred it down, and Quig does not have enough to defend. In 40 minutes, the Highland Ravens take game 1.
Zatman's an old dog, but he can still show some new tricks. I did not see it on map. Bifrost on Phoenix line, waits for commitment in the engagement from the Camelot Kings, and says, nothing personnel, kid. I was right behind you the whole time. Yeah, dominant performance, Cthulhu 2 drafts. Things aren't exactly standard in the composition from the Camelot Kings. Was the last time we've seen Vamana out of the jungle. I'm interested to see how this one plays out. I'm really interested to see Captain Twig's performance on this pick. Feels like we only ever really saw Vamana jungle when Olarun was just dominating the meta, and Vamana was the tankiest, hardest hitting guy in Smite. It's not exactly the case anymore, and the bruiser items that made Vamana jungle so good don't exist or have been reiterated into fully defensive items. Curious to see how that one lines up. Well, otherwise, Quig, just fine. Yarkor able to block out a bit of that damage. The Highland Ravens, though, are going to take a slower pace this game. I think Scream maybe could get aggressive throughout the early on Camazotz. He's not exactly reliant on too many other people to set things up for him on this pick. Has the damage and safety to get things done on his own. But the Cthulhu 2 draft, or 2 Thulu, depending on whether or not you decide to be wrong, is one that has dominated entire years previously. I'm excited to see it. And when I say I'm excited to see it, I'm excited to see 2 massive Cthulhu's backs and nothing else, because you can't see anything else.
Yeah, I think the Camelot Kings probably can't see anything else in those team fights as well, which is, what the Des was mentioning. You just fill the screen with enough things and enough unkillable characters. And
feels like you're playing an MMO, and there's just like targeters on the ground that I'm dying to and can't tell what are.
Yeah, but you know, it wins team fights, or at least it has in the past. Love to see how it wins team fights, or whether or not it does as we get later into this one. Some other good transformations as well for Venenu, right? The Scream, Camazotz, another powerful one. That immunity can come through. There's even the potential of the Vamana, depending on if Quig has a good early game. So I think there's definitely room to see this pick. I want to ask right off the bat, because I'm interested
right off the bat. Because Camazotz.
That's funny. That's
Thanks,
good.
Doug.
I want to ask right off the bat, and we're now no longer on Scream, unfortunately, but this build for Captain Twig, because the last time I remember seeing this, it was on Kirmi, and Kirmi went crit Vamana, and I don't know that still flies.
I'm not sure what exactly is the ideal build for Vamana jungle anymore. Feels like katanas probably are in it. Having additional movement speed helps out with those melee auto attacks sticking to your targets, but it's hard to say. I feel like you definitely need to build some form of defense. Up against the Morrigan, though, and how her damage and base stance interacts, maybe you can get away with a little bit of a squishier build. Just trust the HP shielding from Colossal Fury to do a lot of it for you. Maybe going crit could be valuable here. You know Yarkor isn't going to do it on Heimdall, at least I would assume he would, especially having considered he's gone for the Cowl start. So having something that can force a Spectral Armor pickup or boost your DPS, catch someone off guard, maybe one stray crit item here or there, could help out Captain Twig. Because Vamana, I think, will struggle with his ability to secure kills. He can get things started, he'll stick to you for a while, but eventually we're going to hit a tipping point, an inflection point, where the Highland Ravens will just have turn and burn potential.
Here's actually an interaction that I haven't considered. If you transform on Morrigan into any other god on the map, right? I know stacking items don't come through. Does the recipe reset? Or do you get, if the enemy god has stacked their recipe?
I think I'm speaking on what I think should be the case, because I have not once considered it. if the recipe is upgraded on the person you transform into, I just have to assume that it's going to be upgraded on you as well.
Okay.
I just have to assume.
Yeah,
But if it's one of the recipes that has stacks slowly after upgraded, maybe you start at 0.
yeah,
Maybe. I don't know. I'll watch it.
but yeah, we'll have to see. That's an interesting interaction. And I haven't. I mean, we've seen Morgan several times since recipes. I haven't thought once about it.
Don't expose us. This is the first time we've seen Morgan since recipes.
The first time we've ever seen this interaction potentially, and still have not seen it. Venenu yet to transform and yet to really see any action across the map. But the Highland Ravens, they're keeping up the farm game. Last game, we complimented them for getting this early lead. They had first blood at the time as well, but this time it's just a little bit of farm priority, grabbing the neutral camps, making sure that they grab their own farm as well. Scream over there defending his stuff, and they found a small little lead. He pushed a little bit further here is Scream and Haddix maybe looking to take the 2v2, but it's small farm like that. Captain Twig steals it away. This might turn into something, but I think Scream, he's gonna want to jump away. He's got to use the ultimate, but it's turning into way more action than I thought.
Twig dashes forward, doesn't have any way to prevent the blink, so Scream has done a whole lot of work here. Variety will not be there to help out, but Captain Twig having access to that ultimate will dissuade the Highland Ravens from sticking to that fight any longer. Maybe we'd see Haddix try and chase out and commit to Variety. Instead, though, more eyes towards Peel, wants to make sure Scream doesn't get knocked down. Clean play either way. Does put the Camelot Kings in a pretty decent position, forcing ultimates from both Scream and Haddix, Variety, and Twig maintain their own. Imagine we see them try and rotate through, make use. It'll be difficult, though, considering the timing of that fight actually coincides with the spawn of the blue buff, so not a whole lot of reason to be on the right, barring actually just trying to secure a kill.
Highland Ravens, Heroin tries to steal away that purple buff with the ultimate. Unfortunately unsuccessful, but that's maybe the small instances of farm that they're looking for, to find this small lead, which has gotten even smaller through some of those invades. And both teams right now seem completely content to set up for those team fights. I know I'm still speaking early on, but last game, even through some of the picks, we didn't see a Gold Fury pull until 15 minutes in. This time, we haven't seen a kill, and really nobody has even attempted one outside of that skirmish on the right-hand side. And Scream still had ult and used it at the very end. Vamana held on to his ult the entire time. Like, it just doesn't feel like anybody's willing to get super aggressive this far.
I don't know, Scream's kind of boxing out against Variety. It seemed to me that he was willing to throw some hands, but you're right to say it hasn't been a committal chase just yet. And Ravens might find their opportunity here with Scream turning the corner.
Deal some damage onto Quig, but damage fires back and the relics get traded once again. We saw this very early on when we saw that pickup from Heroin onto Quig, but they've matched each other in relics. This horrific coming through from Heroin. On the other side, you've got the sprint from Quig on the Aphrodite. So just trying to prevent some of that aggression that, Heroin found it last game on Ymir. Is still looking to do the same thing on Atlas, but gonna have a harder time doing so in the 2v2.
Yeah, it's more so just about applying that poke. Easier for Hurrywin to get damage to connect on the Atlas as opposed to throwing up a wall that's going to isolate an individual or finding the freeze to set up for Zapman. It's more so, hey, I hit him with the Astrolabe, they ate a slow, and I also got an auto attack afterward too, so it feels pretty good. That's the majority of Hurrywin's job for the next few minutes, and it can also just dissuade Quig and Yarkor from trying to get aggressive by hanging out in lane. Variety and Scream match up once more. This time, lots of damage. But Captain Twig not quite in range to follow up, so Scream's just going to head on back to base.
Seems like that's the consistent aggression point thus far, though. Captain Twig, he was caught out last game doing
so
this.
Unlucky.
Has to be careful. He's right there just before the speed spawns, but Venenu around the corner. Gonna force him to dash away. And this little bit of pressure. Speaking of the supports, you gotta talk to me about these starter items, because I feel like every game I see supports go, there's 3 of them and they all seem viable, and I've seen different ones on different supports, and if it fits the play, what is determining who is picking up what starter?
I think it's certainly god dependent, so whether or not one interacts properly with one god or the other, I think is probably the 80% of the weighting of the decision making. Otherwise, you'll see it based on whether or not you think you can get aggressive in lane. So War Banner, I think, if you feel like you're going to take a little bit more boxing matches, and Aphrodite will certainly want to do that. You can leverage that sustain. War Flag fits you pretty well. Seems to be that Hurrywin is kind of there to split farm, make sure that he's staying up to date, so Sentinel's certainly good too. Also, it depends on where your support positions in the fight. Are you getting the full value of the defense shared from the Sentinel upgrades? If no, go ahead, pick up War Banner.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see how the upgrades come through as well. Those can have a pretty significant impact on the team fight. There's whole shields that you can provide your team in terms of safety measures, but the objective shred can come through as well. A little bit of focus here on Variety and Scream once again, making his way back towards, though. That might actually open a window. Saw Captain Twig heading towards that left side of the map. Looks like he'll just stick around for the farm. I mean, what's the go button for either of these teams? Because I hesitate to say that it is just flat out the 30-minute mark full build upgraded starters. Like it's hard to say that that's the go button for both of them. Like who's gonna reach a tipping point first where they want to force a fight?
For the Highland Ravens, it's whenever Haddix is with the rest of the team. Anytime you can play around your Cthulhu is when your Cthulhu composition is going to look its best. So until he's involved in the team fight, I don't think the Highland Ravens are going to be too pressed to find too much to do on map. For the Camelot Kings, it's once Big Man Tings has kill pressure. Once he's got enough itemization that his 2-1 combos doing 60, 70%. We're pretty close to that now with Book of Thoth and Divine Ruin finished up. It is hard to say, though. I don't think either side has the, hey, I've connected this one ability onto a target that didn't have an answer, and they just die. There is no fear, no evil here. There's no Windfire Wheels. Captain Twig's playing a Death of the 1,000 cut style pick. Scream's playing a Death of like 500 cut style pick. It's going to take a little while until either one of them is threatening enough to find opportunities on their own. And then ADCs, we know Zatman and Yarkor are very much willing to box out against each other. We saw 2 solo kills in the previous match of this set, both to Yarkor. But if supports are there, there's not a whole lot of boxing to be done.
This may be the time where supports are not there. Quake rotating out, find the Aphrodite in the middle lane, rotating for this beacon fight. And that might signal once he appears on map. Irwin, sure enough, heading towards that mid lane as well. But he could actually be trapped out. I don't know if he knows that they're around the corner. Drops the ultimate instantly. Look for Scream as well, here to help out on the fight. But I'll trade out BMT's ultimate for Hurrowin's. As right as the beacon spawn is as well. Highland Ravens, they've got the position.
Yeah, Hurry is incredibly tanky to BMT's damage already. I was surprised by how little he had taken, and just the threat of defense shred from Atlas ultimate enough to dissuade the Camelot Kings from committing to their fight. Stygian Beacon, it's the Kings there first. Scream nearby, Hurry, not able to get in a range, and so a small poke out on a Hurry win. That's them. A small neutral objective, smallest neutral objective. I don't even want to call it a neutral objective.
Yep.
I'm going to call it a Stygian Beacon.
Let's call it a Stygian Beacon. This is
Call
the
it
neutral
Gold Fury.
objective. The Gold Fury picked up Zatman and Scream, the
no
only
idea.
2 on it, and they have no earthly idea that this is going on. The Highland Ravens, they keep 2 in mid to distract. They 2-man the Gold Fury. It's not a huge gold lead. They bump back up to 1,000, but they take the first maybe real neutral objective.
That is crazy timing. The Camelot Kings probably congratulating themselves a bit. All right, we got the beacon, we got the poke out, things are looking good. We spot 2 in mid. What could possibly be happening on map right now? Just got to nod it off, accept that it had happened. The Gold Fury does go over to the Highland Ravens with 0 contention. If it speaks to the pace of game at all and build, I think you should take your eyes towards Scream. Soul Eater in second slot, 50 stacks. I don't think he really cares to get involved until that's done either, so it's going to be a little bit of time for both these squads.
Yeah, I think both waiting until they at least feel that they have the right moment. And I think solo lane rotations, you mentioned the Cthulhu specifically. You definitely want to play around that. You might want to play around 2 of them if you're the Highland Ravens. I'm looking at variety as well, and specifically this build. we didn't get a chance to talk about how Yarkor built the Amaterasu ADC. There was a lot of damage there naturally, but Variety kind of going something similar. He goes magic off the bat, but I mean, this is looking like maybe a cadence early on. I mean, that's a lot of damage, a lot of aggression potentially for these mid-game fights.
Yeah, this seems to be one of the new standards from Amaterasu. Has so much sustain once you get that Death's Embrace finished up a little bit later on that you can really go towards a bit more auto attack. Ultimate from Hurrywin. Just a poke and prod and see if maybe the defense shred would be enough to put Scream into a kill threshold there. Not the case though, even with Vampiric Bats and Screech connecting. With Quig nearby, with every single relic in play for the Camelot Kings and Ultimate on Aphrodite, there will be no commitment. A while, pressure on left, Twig tries his best.
He got
knock down the tower, does take it, but what's happening on right?
Pyromancer looked for Highland Raven, secure the Pyromancer. Scream looking on his way out and will find his way out. Variety actually has to be careful here, but Quig's there for the backup. Another neutral objective goes the way of the Highland Ravens, and might find some additional pressure on this left-hand side. Twig sticking around, steals the purple buff. Just those minor aspects of aggression. Still, nobody falls though.
I mean, it is just knee-jerk reaction time from the Highland Ravens. Zatman's under pressure. Pyro, let's just go ahead and do it. And because Gold Fury is down, even in indicating that you're at Pyromancer with the massive roar of death from it, there's nothing the Camelot Kings have done. They'd already accomplished their purple buff invade. Maybe they could have pressured Tier 1 tower, but that would have been a large commitment of time, and perhaps Haddix would have teleported over. Clean stuff from the Ravens. Camelot Kings, I think, just not exactly timing their aggression on the map so well here has allowed the Ravens now to just grab two neutrals with no fight back.
Twig, Beads get forced. This might be a fight though. Camelot Kings, look at Yarkor. He's on the other side. He burns the beads from Zatman. The rest of the team was there to back him up. Wanted to continue, but no more pressure from the Kings, just positioning here on this left-hand side. And that's the first time we maybe see a significant look towards these relics. You've got beads down for Twig, still beads down as well for Zatman. That gives them the confidence to look at this Tier 1 tower, the first structure will fall.
Camelot Kings will knock it down, but how much pressure is that really going to net you? If you can try and pull a Gold Fury, it'd be a little bit more difficult for the Highland Ravens to retreat afterwards should the fight go poorly, but not so certain how the fight's going to look. Haven't seen a whole lot of it just yet. Ben, I think he's dead here.
Yeah, I think he might be.
Oh, never mind.
Transform into Scream.
I think he's dead here. Nope,
Zatman, he's under some pressure on the left-hand side. And that reaction, 17 minutes in, everybody surviving thus far. First blood still yet to be drawn by either of these teams. And it's just, I mean, one, neither of these teams has been willing to commit to a full-on fight. That's, you know, surely that is the case thus far. Nobody is like 100% pressed to W key. But also, the inherent safety of a lot of these characters has come through. If this was not Camazotz with Press 4 and CC Immune and Aegis and Untargetable, if that was not Camazotz, we would have had maybe 2 or 3 kills at this point.
If it wasn't Camazotz, it might have been Amaterasu, right? Dash away and you're just faster than everybody else and healing at the same time. Have CC Immune the ultimate. If it's not Amaterasu, maybe it's a transformation into Twig and you're doing all the exact same things. Neither team exactly having an easy time starting the fight. I think it might be an initiation issue as well. Quig, single target, Hurrywin, very delayed CC on Atlas. You're having a hard time just finding quick picks.
Primal Fury picked up, Variety rotated over as well. Scream might be forced into the ultimate, but it's Haddix who joins the fight on the backside and into the Cthulhu ultimate. Captain Twig, he's got the big baby. But it's the Ravens, they're chasing the Kings down. Low health bars continue, but the healing keeps everybody above half, at least for the time being. Primal Fury picked up by 4 of the Ravens. Yarkor has to look for a miracle steal and does not find it. The pressure is there from the Ravens. They fight back. Still no kills, but they grab the Gold Fury.
That's our first look at what a team fight might turn into, should either side commit to it. Haddix into the back line, goes into the Sense of Madness. Camelot Kings say, well, we're not going to walk through that. Captain Six says, I've already used my ultimate, so please come back and help me. and then two massive Leviathan-esque creatures pass each other in the night with very little violence between the two of them. Camelot Kings will at least be able to trade out the Pyromancer for themselves. Neither side a solidified lead. Neither side exactly going to be benefiting too much from an experience advantage either. And one or two levels here or there. With the pace of game as it stands, we might be full level 20s except for supports before we see a kill. Play game. Over under 25 minutes.
Over under 25 minutes for not the length of the game, but
no
for,
kill.
for
Yeah.
kill.
Oh yeah, for the length of the game.
I was
yeah, for sure, man. Yeah, you got it.
I was worried you were asking. Are you asking me? Or are
Yeah.
you on? Okay.
Who else?
I don't know, man. I'm on the spot. Twitch chat, you can guess too. I'm going under. I think it's going to be
25.
23 or 24 minutes that we're going to get it.
too.
Yeah, I got a big prediction because Big Man Tings, you mentioned him getting online. He's 19, man. He's going to hit level 20 right around that time. Maybe we saw him dash in onto Venenu a little bit earlier. Maybe starting to feel antsy, starting to want to get these fights underway.
Maybe. If he's got Soul Reaver on back, will be a massive boon to his damage output. I'll go over. I'll go over because I want to see it now. I want the first death of this game to result in the death of the Titan. That's what I want. I want there to be exactly one fight for the rest of this match. Towers poked and prodded. Survive in mid. Can't say the same on right. Highland Ravens knocked down the solo side. Force a retreat here, though. Got to be careful. Big Man Ting's got plenty of damage to play with. But no one to hit because Scream is just that safe.
Just jumping away. He still has his tier 1 tower to retreat to, but
and old.
4-man grouping from the Kings on this right-hand side. Looks like they're going to try and answer back onto the tier 1. Scream into the bat out of hell. Has to use it to stay safe, though. And the rest of the Camelot Kings will immediately disengage, as we've seen most of the game. And I think as we sort of start to round out the builds here, on my mind is...
Firepool? Firepool.
Oh, Firepool. Erwin.
Fire reset.
Fire. Still in the area, maybe a little bit testing the waters, but Camelot Kings are aware of it.
So that man's pretty far forward here. Variety dash forward. Catches the dash from Hurry. That's surely it.
That's first blood. Yarkor finds it onto Heroin. The fight back, though, might be a different story. Descent into madness around 4 of the Kings. And the tier 1 tower stands in nobody's way. And here's some second Cthulhu. The tier 2 tower in nobody's way. And Zapman finds the answer back. Variety dashes in, looks for the last bit of damage onto Scream, but only a 1-for-1. And that's the double Cthulhu. You just dive forever. They at least are able to answer back onto the ADC.
Support for ADC trade. Highland Ravens, I would say come out ahead on it, but I don't think it particularly matters at this point if the Camelot Kings can keep up their pressure. Beads lost there. Zatman forced to use his relic defensively, but does maintain the tower. My eyes on Twig. He's maybe considering a dive on a Zatman. Instead, spots the red buff and the entirety of the living Highland Ravens, bar Scream, and Zatman. We're just right back to it. Back to poking and prodding, back to map state. Hope that satiated your bloodlust, Frog. We're back on the waiting list.
Well, we got under.
We did. Congratulations.
We went under. Thank you.
Maybe if Hurryway could aim his dash, man. Come on.
Gold Fury picked up by the Highland Ravens. Gold Fury dropped down by the Highland Ravens here, 22 minutes in. 3K gold lead, give or take, maybe closer to 4K. They do have a lead, but this is similar to the lead that they had at 10 minutes, maybe at 9 minutes in game number 1. And that was the lead that they felt dominant with. I'm not sure at 23 minutes in, I'm feeling too hot about a 3K gold lead. Certainly maybe some small advantages, a tier 3 versus a tier 2, but Highland Ravens, Camelot Kings, this is pretty close to an even playing field.
It is. Variety. Just a bit of poke here, but it's all about the Pyromancer, and that one will be headed to the Highland Ravens. So parity matched once more. 2 runic bombs in play, 1 for either side. This Fire Giant pool, though, a little bit different, and where's the Yarkor?
Variety and Twig, they're around. Yarkor's not here, though. The engagement goes off for the Kings. Twig forced into the big baby, but not enough to keep him alive. Variety, he's been separated as well, but they stayed on the Fire Giant. It's steal. The Ravens secure it, though. They keep it clean. They take down Variety as well. Quig forced to use the ultimate, but the chase does not stop there. The double Cthulhu comes through.
Wow.
And BMT and Quig forced back under the tier 2 tower. They grab the Fire Giant and they grab 2 more. The Ravens on top.
Big Man Tings did a lot of damage on the retreat there. Tycho Drum rips through everybody for about 400 apiece. Not enough to secure the kill, considering I don't think Captain Twig even uses an auto attack before he dies there. Goes up into the Colossal Fury, walks in range. It's knocked down. The Highland Ravens actually had spotted Yarkor on his rotation, so realized that they are permanently advantaged in the team fight, considering where he was. Reveals himself around that Stygian beacon on ward. And now it's the Highland Ravens with Fire Giant on 5 and time to get their Wombo combo back. I'm watching the cooldowns of Haddix and Ben. Need those ultimates back up. Seems to be the crux of their team fight. Camelot Kings have not devised an answer just yet to the double Cthulhu. I mean, Yarkor will do a lot of damage if he's allowed to hit him, but I don't know if he's got enough damage that just him hitting him is going to be the difference. Seems like Big Man Tinks might be able to make that up, though.
Siege here on the left side. They've got their Titan pushing down, and they've got high health bars for the Ravens. Left-hand tier 2 tower. One of the 3 remaining here is all of the towers in tier 2 remain for the Camelot Kings, but right now they're not too willing to defend. Zapman just getting some free damage onto this one. Had to take down the Titan first off, but look at this Scream flank. Some damage onto Captain Twig to start things off, and Haddix, he's dove on the other side of the fight. Scream into the Batter to Hell, and a 3-man knock-up pushes right past the tier 2 and onto the Phoenix. Here comes the second descent into madness. Variety has no chance on that ultimate, and Quig and the Soul Laner are turned around on the Phoenix, falling fast, and the space created is second to none. The Highland Ravens, no kills needed. They take down the left bird.
It's hard to say, right? Are the Camelot Kings correct in that they will not win a team fight if there are 2 descended into madness, fully insane, not in touch with reality at all Cthulhus? No. But can they allow those Cthulhus to create as much space as they have? Can they allow the Highland Ravens to just walk wherever they want? Also, no. Feels like the Camelot Kings are as close to a checkmate situation right now as maybe you possibly could be at a 3-1 slash line, or 1-3 I should say, from their perspective. Highland Ravens, I mean, the ball's in their court. It really is. The gold lead is now actually significant enough that I would care enough to do the math. Thank you for not making me do it, Doug. 6,000 in favor of them. The experience no longer matters at all, as all relevant parties are level 20. Fire Giant power play still so long, too. Ravens might just run it back. And you want to know, you asked what the go button was earlier. Yeah, it's still there. Ben and Haddix, see those diamonds right next to the fire icon on their names?
Yep.
Yeah, if they're full of blue, I don't see them losing a fight.
That's the go button. Yeah, I mean, even if because, I mean, you mentioned it as a checkmate situation. I was going to counter with an immovable object meets an unstoppable force, but so far the Camelot Kings have been a very movable object.
Yep.
And so if you're looking, I mean, is it just because if we're signing it off right now, signed, sealed, and delivered, do the Camelot Kings just not have the composition to deal with the double Cthulhu? Because if that's the case, they might as well sign, seal, and delivered. And if it's not, like, how do they have to find an answer?
The answer is generally to Cthulhu to deal with him before he descends into madness. And if Haddix telegraphs it at all, it would be dash from Haddix, stun him from Aphrodite, pray Yarkor's got the damage while that stun's still there, he descends into madness, maybe he's low enough you can knock him down afterward. Or if it's Blink, we've seen Ymir Freeze damage or Confound damage. It has to be a kiss from Quig, it seems like, as far as confirmable CC. Maybe an ultimate from Yarkor can delay the descent into madness, but I just do not like how the Camelot Kings CC interacts with the composition from the Highland Ravens. If they had just something that was immediate, just anything like a Hades silence or a Confound from Athena, I feel like there would be some sort of answer to Cthulhu. Or maybe it's just a little bit more AoE damage too. If Yarkor had decided to pick up an Odysseus bow, boost that attack speed, get even more value from your kin size, and have a little bit of AoE to start ringing through the team fight. because Zapman isn't getting hit. He's got 2 Cthulhus standing between you and him. Ven's getting hit, but who cares? He's Cthulhu. Scream's going into the air. Yeah, I think this is incredibly close to checkmate, barring catastrophic failure from the Highland Ravens to just play as 5 and group up. That's not to say that they couldn't make mistakes maybe around these Phoenixes if the base defense is clean, but the win condition for the Ravens is just so much easier than it is for the Kings. And to state it diplomatically, Vamana ain't it. And that's as far as I'm willing to go with that.
Vamana might not be it, at least thus far this game.
He's
the
lowest damage in the game.
The Cthulhu might indeed be it.
It seems to be it.
Seems to be it. As they pull the Fire Giant, only 45 seconds before this becomes enhanced. But I don't know that the Ravens want to wait for that. Looks like, though, they don't want to wait for the fight. Haddix into the Descent into Madness and trapping 5 members here of the Camelot Kings. Everybody is in the Gamma Ray burst, but they try to turn the damage around.
Hold on.
And they are turning it around. They find one, but Venenu and Captain Twig, they fall. Zapman finds Variety, a 3-man sweep for the Ravens. They press the go button, and the Kings, they try something different. They try to fight back, and they just don't have enough damage. They might have it in them for the steal, though. It's got to be perfect. It's got to be a miracle if they want it. The Arcor looking to step up. May have the damage. The Ravens, though, they find the Fire Giant, and it's EFG.
The Ravens held it at low HP in the face of Quig and Yarkor, saying, yeah, I'll take that enhancement, and I'll take it to go. That is tough. Twig nearly doubles up his damage in that fight, decides to stand his ground, realizes, okay, you know, they can't CC me, double Cthulhu who? But the rest of his team got hit by knock-up, so there was no damage behind him, barring just enough to finish off Haddix, who was at the forefront of the engagement from offset, got things started on his own. EFG on 4. I think the Highland Ravens still in a really good position to go ahead and leverage that into a further lead. All the while, left side Phoenix gone down again there for the Camelot Kings. Thank you very much, Doug. Give it 30 seconds until we're team fight ready.
30 seconds. That's the timer. I think they've got longer than that just to clean up some of this gold. Oni Fury on the map, tier 2 tower in mid and in right. Still available for the Ravens to push down and pick up. And I think if I'm the Kings, I'm not defending tier 2s at this point, but I mean, maybe you have to start a fight outside of your base. Maybe you have to try and find a pick. That might be what they're looking for. Variety, Twig, pushed up a little bit. One singular auto, you can see the level of damage Zapman is dealing. I suspect they give up the tier 2s, but I mean, if they just let the Cthulhus walk into the Phoenixes like they did last time, I don't know how they defend this.
We'll see. I think maybe had they even put up a defense around tier 2 and you get one of the Cthulhu ultimates, things look a little bit better. Having the Highland Ravens have access to all their resources before they make contact with your bird, maybe not ideal. Losing half of your bird before any ultimates are used either, perhaps not ideal either. The Camelot Kings gotta figure something out.
Scream, damage on the left side, looking to trade with Variety. I don't know if Variety wins
Twig!
that 1v1 Twig.
Are you for real?
They're watching as the mid-Phoenix, they can't decide on a path to take the Camelot Kings. They're like, let's back up, let's help our soul laner, and they lose the mid-Phoenix for it. And those diamonds, Mifflin, they're all still full.
Variety is fighting for his life on left, and Twig is just shaking pom-poms 15 feet away. I could not tell you what's happening there. A knock-up onto Scream forces beads, or maybe forces the ultimate if there's any CC follow-up. Or even just like Scorching Blink behind him into a knock-up. I don't know. There's inaction, not great.
Blink in from Haddix, Descent into Madness, and Twig, he's in the fight as well, but Scream finds Tiggs to start things off, and Venenu answers with Variety as well. The damage is just too strong, and a quadra kill for Scream out of nowhere. The last hit's cleaned up by the jungler, and the Highland Ravens, they hit the final go button at the end. They're up 2-0.
That is very clearly, maybe more so than ever in Smite's history, a composition diff. I could sit there and rack my brains for 10 minutes at a time, and I'm sure that's exactly what was happening for the entirety of that game in the Camelot Kings camp. How do we win a team fight? Both teams have clear win conditions. Both teams have potential to take fights in the late game. I don't think either side's particularly lacking for any particular facet of a composition. Initiation good on both ends. Damage pretty good on both ends too. This could be perhaps one of the most competitive games of the set.
Yeah, the comps are definitely a little bit more competitive in terms of where the pressure wants to come from, and I think a big part of that is going to focus around these junglers. We saw even in set 1 today how much Sino was able to run the game on this Ratatosk, just using the global pressure, being everywhere and using that early pressure. On the other side, Twig doesn't have the global pressure, but he is a similar pick in terms of the damage that it can output in the first couple of minutes of the game. So if there is going to be early pressure, any buff invades, any early ganks, I definitely expect Twig and Scream to be the front runners for their respective teams.
Yeah, both of them very safe on their aggression, have to get out of jail free cards. One of them's a little bit faster than the other, but one of them gets you a little further than the other, but it doesn't matter because Scream has already knocked down Big Man Tings. Simple as that. Pops the Claw Shard, dashes forward, and says, hey, I know Raijin does a whole lot of damage. Me too, though.
I was actually going to get to the point and ask, like, over under 10 minutes, like, what do the comps look like?
I would have said around 1:05.
Yeah? You would have said exactly 1 minute, 5 seconds.
I think so, yeah.
You would have been exactly right, and I'm sure you would have perfectly called Big Man Tings to fall.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, that's
well.
clear.
Right, very clear. Scream still putting. Oh my!
He good?
Oh my goodness, Big Man Tings!
Did you see his eyes? They rolled back, bro. The light left him.
Bro, Whirlwind, he's under some pressure as well. 2 kills early for the Highland Ravens. Scream finds himself 2-0 at less than 2 minutes into the game.
Yeah, man. And Ramon, I said earlier, it's like a pretty big mental boom in game 2. I'm thinking you're not recovering if Variety gets knocked down here.
Oh my goodness, Variety.
It's a while.
Yet they're still chasing him.
He's so fast.
Look at his cooldowns. He doesn't have dash.
Show me the other
Scream.
cooldowns.
He's looking for the dash. He does under the
No
turn.
way.
No. Scream!
It's okay.
They trade back at the very least. And because Scream got that kill before, that's a shutdown kill for Variety as well. I don't know, man.
No, that's not worth for Scream at all. Let's not get it twisted. That's not something Scream should have been doing. But I'm glad he did. He's ever the showman. Doug, help me out here, man. Hover this acorn because we don't often get to see it in the jungle. I believe this is called Thick Bark. It is. Every single time he's dealing his damage, he's going to regenerate a little bit of HP. This is something Scream and Sino, I think, would be going towards pretty consistently. Just the bruiser-style jungle pick. If he's going to be diving towers at 230, I'm thinking that'll help out a bit.
Gets a little bit tankier, gets 3 kills on the board in less than 3 minutes, which is certainly a change of pace for game number 2 from game number 2. And we talked about the junglers. They're the ones expected to set that pace, and Scream wasting no time in doing so. BMT is wearing the green buff because he lost his red buff. He just needs to survive right now. I think after dying 2 times so early, he's just going to be focused on the farm.
God, I love that my eyes were already on the player cam for that second death. He leaned back, he tilted his chin up, his eyes lost every bit of light, and I can't even blame him. Yarkor forced to use those beads defensively on tower line because Scream is everywhere on the map. Gonna need Captain Twig getting involved sooner rather than later, trying to alleviate a bit of that pressure. With all that said, though, and considering how quickly Big Man Tings had fallen twice, isn't exactly all that far behind. Experience, pretty close. Ven will likely hit 7 on this wave. Big Man Tings a little ways away from that. Major difference is speed of stacking. Baba Yaga is going to win that battle regardless, but having the Book of Thoughts so much faster probably helps out a bit.
Scream, some pressure over here on the left-hand side. A little bit surprised he's not in time for any of these buff invades. All the respective buffs go to their owners, but he shows up right around the time of the middle of the spawn, and this is now very telling. Both junglers on the right side of the map here. Scream in particular, dashing forward, trying to make space, like making his space on this right side of the map. If there's going to be pressure, I suspect it will be with Haddix around this enemy jungle in just a couple of seconds.
Yeah, blue buff's a little ways from respawning, but Scream would have started his rotation. He'd get there around the time it comes back up. Instead, take eyes towards mid, wants to play spoiler to Captain Twig if there's an overcommitment. If that leap were used aggressively, likely Scream would have been there to put a stop to it. Instead, though, not a whole lot ventured there. And so instead, it's a rotation to solo. He wouldn't do it. We're not diving again. Variety's too tanky.
Right, it's a little bit too tanky, a little bit too healthy early on. This is the rotation, though. Blue buff spawns, and Captain Twig is there to answer back. On the left side, a little bit of fighting as well around that shield buff taken by the Camelot Kings, but have to be careful here whether or not they want to dive. Scream still the maintainer of this active lead, and Highland Ravens, the maintainer of a small lead once again. This could be a big turnaround, though. Captain Twig, he's gotten Scream pretty low, still has the ultimate available. Have to use it for safety.
He would chase
Scream looking for the chase, needs to find it. The knockup's there, the kill is there as well. Variety, he's got to be careful this doesn't get turned around on.
No mana?
The body blocks, and then he's rotated over Variety, finds the kill and the dive. Might just come through. Pen just walking through the tower. He is not fast enough to catch Variety, and will back right there in the danger zone. So they take down Scream once again.
Well-placed shot from Variety to knock him down there. If it doesn't connect, that is the end of the chase for Amaterasu, and so finds his opportunity and finds it well. Scream, I'm sure realizing the risk once he decided to land, would have preferred to just knock down Twig, and so happy with the trade. But he's delivering high-value kills to Variety. Doug, can you show me the net worth chart here? I wonder if Variety's actually ahead in lane now. He is, ever so slightly, a few hundred gold or so, up on Haddix, who's been having a pretty good game so far himself, quietly accumulating decent farm, putting pressure on the blue buff. Variety's just been airdropped some pretty big gold infusions.
Yeah, but that's Scream is 700 gold ahead of his counterpart on Twig. And sure, some of that's the kills, but it feels like he's the one getting involved, and Twig's very reactionary at the moment. Gonna have to react to this gank as well. Already down to half HP.
It ain't right.
And no ultimate available. Scream finds essentially the solo kill there. A little bit of help from Venenu. Zabids get burned onto the mid laner as well. Scream over here, looking for some more action if he can find it. He's got the tankiness. He's got a Kepriel as well. Yarkor may be in more danger than he knows. The ultimate comes through. The beads get forced. Valkyrie's discretion is available, but perfectly timed, and it will not be found. The ultimate is there as well. And Scream and the Highland Ravens are operating perfectly.
You know, we haven't seen a Scream game like this in a while, but this used to be his MO. Let me do everything, play through me. I want to get aggressive. I want to do my thing. This reminds me of Solar Scarab Scream. This reminds me of Scream when he just decides to put the team on the back, and so far, he's doing exactly that. 6 out of 6 affected, 0 assists.
Oh my. Captain Twig under pressure as well, battered to hell, forced
when
he's already down to 10 HP. I don't know where he's going. He's finding the blink, though. Maybe timing a little bit off there from Scream. Has to be careful. Doesn't want to take the 2v1 necessarily, but that's the kind of pressure that you're finding in the jungle. Still good from Captain Twig to try and find a little bit of counter farm. Try and catch up here a little bit, but I mean, this is still second item Soul Eater. Still going to need to stack that up from Twig. I mean, it's definitely the onus on Scream right now to make anything happen on the map.
And he's doing exactly that. Scream could AFK for the rest of the game, and I wouldn't care, man. He's had such a performance in the first 9. Twig's doing a good job at maintaining farm, all things considered. Has invaded a few times, been able to escape, been controlling his own farm relatively well. But he spends so much more time in the jungle farming up. You really expect to see at least a bit of a lead. Scream making up for every bit of it just in the PvP, be it directly up against Twig or otherwise. I wonder now if the Highland Ravens decide to slow down pace, start stacking up. You're waiting on Zatman, Hurry, and Ven now with the Prophetic Cloak. Or do you want to continue to leverage the lead while you've got it, potentially start looking towards that Gold Fury? I think it's basically just whatever Scream wants is what's going to happen. It's not as if the lanes themselves are doing all that well. There's parity in levels between just about everyone here.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, for all the space that Scream has made, for the 6 kills that this Ratatosker has, he is actually all of their kills and deaths, for the record.
And it's only 800 gold separating them.
Right. I mean, they're pretty close. If anything, their gold lead has not exploded like you might expect it to with this kind of gameplay, but he's given his team all the space they need to try and scale a little bit. This Prophetic Cloak now online for Venenu. Scream, though. Look at where he is. He's caught. I don't know if he's caught in the enemy jungle or if he wants to be here. Big Man Tinks turns the corner. Scream up into the ultimate. He only makes so much space, but that will be enough to get him out of there. As Haddix as well. A little bit low on the health bar over towards Variety. Scream still trying to make space, but he's right now it's Captain Twig maybe chasing him down.
Starts his back. Twig does not have the blink damage, so instead we'll start to head towards the center of the map and maybe potentially put eyes on Invade. Unfortunately for Twig, just a second too early turning that corner as Yarkor is on the chopping block.
Yarkor has the support of Quig and Herwin. Body blocks are incredible from Quig! He has to make space for the dash. And Herwin, they didn't have enough damage to take him down, but beautiful from Quig to try and make that amount of space. Went for the purple buff invade, weren't able to get it done, but they kept it on map, and now is time for Scream to rotate over if they want to look for something. But I mean, back to my original point, this is just making space for his team. He is forcing all of the kings to constantly be asking the question, where is the enemy jungler? Where is the Ratatosker? And Scream just blinks in, burn speeds, that's all he needs to do. Because his mid laner's stacking up Prophetic. The rest of his team, they're getting closer to their mid-game spikes.
I wonder, though, you force back Big Man Tings, you burn his beads, you know Meditation's down on Quig because of the fight just previously. I'd like to see the High-End Ravens do something with this lead. It's a small lead, but I'd like to see them play around that aggression. Scream now, not exactly as far ahead as he once was, and now starting to move in towards defense. Won't be doing as much damage either. This game is incredibly even. I'm not even willing to say that the Hound Ravens have massive advantage in team fight. The only thing that's really going for them is the fact that Big Man Tings hasn't got beefs for the next 2 minutes. Otherwise, I mean, I'd say dead even.
Dead even indeed, and even more so. Grabbing the Stygian Beacon, the Camelot Kings get their first inkling of pressure there with the positioning in the mid lane. Herwin, gotta be a little bit careful, dashing away. Thought they might try and pull some positioning towards Gold Fury, but some back-offs from the Camelot Kings. And you start to ask the question, for all of this early game pressure, what is it actually worth, right? I mean, we're calling the prowess of Scream. We're saying this is a legacy game. This is what he used to do, just take over games in the first 8 minutes. And everything just pauses. And we're now looking at the Ravens who have less than 1,000 gold lead, maybe even under pressure still. Captain Twig, oh my goodness, he's gonna get chased down potentially. Kepri's over here as well.
Ooh, dashes in, doesn't spot Big Man Tings, forced a retreat now, but takes the Scarab's Blessing with them. Haddix joins the team fight, but won't be walking in towards that tower, so Captain Twig survives narrowly and does make his way back towards base. Both soul laners have made the long trek over towards the duo lane, so the fight might just continue to erupt. Keep your eyes on Zap, he's under pressure.
Variety finds his way into the back line. Relics for Zap, man, he's forced to dash away. And Herwin, he's got no ultimate to save himself with the follow-up. It's a little bit late. The Camelot Kings, they need to be there for the damage, and they are not there in time. The dash, a little bit off the mark for Herwin, but no lives fall. Nobody in the gray screen after that engagement, despite all 5 members being on the left side.
And that was close. If Variety eats a duck, likely just his life there. Instead, able to make himself scarce. I like this jungle matchup for Scream. Twig with no ultimate doesn't have a whole lot of kill potential, doesn't have a lot of survivability either, so he'll just have to retreat once more. Fortunately for him, Soul Eater, plus the sustain from Vampiric Bats means that he should be able to stay out on field. No mana, though. Maybe he heads back to base. No neutral objectives for either side. Both teams have incredibly strong scaling picks. Freya has gone just about untouched for this match. Early rotation from Scream, barring that. Hasn't really had too much happening in the duo lane, so 2 rings finished. Gonna hit that 3-ring power spike sooner rather than later. Then another scaler, about to finish up his prophetic cloak, does so before I can even finish my thought. So now he's tanky, does decent damage too.
Whoa. Scream in on the ultimate, Blink in as well. Captain Twig in the area though, low on mana, still enough to dissuade the full-scale engagement from Scream. But those backs, those force, that might be a window for the Highland Ravens if they want to push down the tier 1, if they want to hop on the Gold Fury instead. It'll be a window for the Camelot King. They're on the Pyromancer, and I don't think Venenu is willing to step up to that one. They'll at least grab one neutral objective, and Twig is going to be here in time for this. The wave's on its way as well. Have to be careful of a steal, and the Kings take it away. They get both neutral objectives, and they're looking for the fight afterwards. Damage from Raijin is in towards the Soul Laner, and Yarkor, he's the first one to fall. Highland Ravens, they're turning it around, and they've caught in the backline Variety completely on his lonesome. Space for the Kings, though, if they want to continue the push. They will grab both objectives, all for losing one.
Man, it was the dot damage from Vampiric Bats that secures the Gold Fury. 27 damage. Narrow margins. Unfortunate for the Highland Ravens, left it alive with just a bit left. And the Camelot Kings take both neutral objectives and perhaps the tier 1 tower to boot. And all of a sudden, that phenomenal early game, that 6-kill start, now 7, all on Scream, doesn't really amount to a whole lot when both experience and gold start to favor the other side. The rest of the Highland Ravens, I mean, they haven't exactly been given a lead, considering Scream did not share any of the kills. So maybe it is just up to Scream, continue to make things happen. This damage output, it's fallen off a lot with that Breastplate of Valor pickup.
Scream, one of the junglers known to go
that was close.
Towards that tanky style of build. Zatman, though, he's the one under some pressure here on the left-hand side. Quig was forcing it down. They'll just steal the purple buff and walk away scot-free. You mentioned Yarkor basically untouched this game on the Freya. He falls, of course, in that last team fight for one of the kills, but still maintaining a level lead over Zatman here. First time we're seeing Freya this set, and I think, you know, nobody has to be told the damage that an unchecked Freya can do the longer we go in this game.
But it's a lot, and it's a lot of safety too. Maybe this next minute though means that safety mitigated a bit for Yarkor. A lot of places for the Highland Ravens to force a fight around Yarkor though. Not a whole lot of reason to be on the left side of the map. Ball's in the Highland Ravens court now. I'll be keeping my eyes on the automation. Cyclopean Ring for Yark. Some CDR, a bit of additional burst damage, but not one that we get to see all that often. It's a ring. Triple ring build. It's going to happen anyway. It's a little bit different.
A little bit different. Certainly no shortage of damage. So hold that thought. Big man tank speeds get forced out. Look at the trap though. Haddix, he found the teleport into the back, and a 2-man ultimate from Scream in onto the mid laner. Tank falls first, and the damage continues. Twig, he'll be the next to fall. Scream is on a rampage. 9-2 thus far in this game. Not only 100% of his team's kills, but all the deaths as well. Just the entire game right now.
Yeah, Scream's the only one playing Smite. The rest of them are doing something else. Pushing left side, seems like, for the Highland Ravens. That was a great catch out on the big man Tings. Good chase down as well. Scream's been doing that pretty frequently. Puts himself in decent position, saves the ultimate for the chase. We'll see what the punish game looks like, though. Tier 1, Tier 2, both taken. Highland Ravens knock down a few structures and don't even have to sacrifice anything on map. Variety, considering a push into Tier 2 himself, has to contend with Scream. And here's the thing, Scream's just about built like a soul laner, so doesn't really suffer too much in that 1v1. In fact, puts himself even further ahead, now 3 levels up. Make that 2 as Twig cresses 16 on his direct jungle opponent. I'm thinking I need to see that 0 turn into like a 1 or a 2 pretty soon, though. Scream, he could share some kills. You don't really need that much
Is he-
gold.
I don't know, man. I feel like if you're telling a jungler who's having a game like that to share some kills, I feel like that's not.
Imagine if Ven had like a finished Ob Shard right now or something.
Yeah, okay. I mean, I see your point. That would certainly be beneficial.
Or like if Zap had like any crit.
For the team. That,
Yeah.
That sounds beneficial.
I mean, I would do it.
Also beneficial, though, is the space that he's creating. He's certainly wasting no time in dashing in. They're picking up the Pyromancer. Highland Ravens, they've got the positioning here. Haddock's up a little bit, finds the double knockup, but the space not comfortable enough for them to just pick up the objective. And instead, it'll be a small back off. And still, these ADCs just waiting until 20 to rotate over, I guess. Just, you know, hesitant, grabbing some farm. Scream was maybe trying to catch out Yarkor, but fully backed off as soon as he heard the rotation was coming.
Yeah, he even spots it out on map. Steve, an opening around the Pyromancer, Camelot Kings. I mean, they're committing. That's a lot of damage.
A lot of damage is right onto it. Kings secure the objective, and the fight afterwards, they're looking for it. Big man takes onto the Taiko drums. In the air goes Scream. No dive potential. Well, I say that. He's over the tier 2 tower. Has to back off, though. This might be a Gold Fury question, though. A couple of the Kings members' backs was just Twig. He's going to be late to this objective, though. If they want to try and defend it thus far, just looking like a steal attempt, if one even comes through. So it will be a trade of the neutral objectives.
Runic Bomb in play for variety, so we'll keep our eyes on that. Never mind, Runic Bomb out of play, knocks out the tier 2 tower. Value's good. I'll say Camelot Kings come out ahead on that trade. How far ahead? Not very. Gold lead, minuscule. Experience lead, just about non-existent as well. And so, with most relevant parties starting to approach 20, I'm thinking the Highland Ravens might have advantage just because Scream's going to hit 20 relatively shortly, whereas Captain Twig is hovering at 17. Hasn't quite been able to get active on map on this Camazotz either. Very low damage output from the Camelot Kings jungler. Yeah, just have Scream clear out some waves, hit 20, head back to base, get that protector of the jungle, start leveraging that pressure. All the while, though, he's not the only one. Ven joins the level 20 club. Likely a pendulum on back for him once he's accumulated the gold, about 300 gold out from that being the case. So I'd say 30, 40 seconds until the Highland Ravens can reset again, and then the team fight might come.
So here's my question, right? This stage of the game, 22 minutes in. So far, Scream is maybe the only one that has played the game.
That's right.
Right? So we're at about the point in the game where similar, I won't even get to, Big Man takes, forced out, beads, and blink traded for from Scream. He has been forcing a lot of these engagements, but, you know, imagine game number 2, where at this point, we call it even, gold is even, experience is essentially even at this point in the game as well. And if you exclude Scream, we haven't even gotten to first blood yet.
Okay. All right, I'm with that.
And so let's just say we're around the point in the game, Fire Giant's starting to be talked about. Let's say everybody starts playing Smite all of a sudden. How do these team fights look?
Man, it's hard to say. We haven't seen a team fight just yet. Asking me to predict the interactions. I'd say Captain Twig probably blinks into the back line, maybe connects Vampiric Bats with Zapman. That would force a defensive dash from him. All the while, Variety's saying dash is down, so he's going to chase that one out. Hurry win, then has to direct his attention to the. Is this what you wanted?
That's a little bit more in depth than I was hoping for. I'm really looking for the engage points because so far it's just been Scream, and so far maybe on this side it's Scream to his detriment because he dashes in versus 3.
No.
I don't know. He's got to use
That's
the
not
Aegis
allowed.
to survive.
Is he going back in?
The re-engage could be huge. He is going back in. He's found the damage onto Yarkor, and the Scarab's Blessing is good for another dash. Venenu finds Yark.
First blood.
And the damage continues. First blood on anybody other than Scream. The Highland Ravens, they grab 1. They grab the tier 1 as well, and this might be an objective pull.
Even when Scream's getting picked out, he's winning, right? Just distracts the Camelot Kings, gets Valkyrie's discretion off Yarkor, reinitiates and says, yo, hurry, you got me. Answer was yes.
Fire Giant down to half HP. Captain Twig is out of there. BMT, Quig, Variety, nobody wants to step up to this one. The Highland Ravens secure the Fire Giant at 25 minutes into this one. Titans pushing down mid lane, but won't be a huge deal. I think they'll grab the tier 1. They might keep pushing. This Fire Giant, though, is the first real semblance of a lead, it feels like, for either of these teams.
It's all off the back. Camelot Kings finally decided to stick to a team fight. Twig, clothesline by the stun. Able to retreat with the leap. Still had access to the ultimate as well as bead, so maybe not under massive threat there. Trigger discipline on both, and you'll have them for the next round of team fights. God, Ravens have just got so much gold to collect. Grab a runic bomb, could reset, could go immediately over to the Primal Fury, fill their coffers a bit more before they reset towards base. A little bit easier now. Start thinking about the siege and how well it plays or how well it doesn't play. Highland Ravens, largely standard composition. Haddock's gonna be able to tank up those towers relatively easily. Somersault Cloud if things start to get dicey. All the while Zapman gonna be tempering damage towards the structure. So how does the base defense look for the Camelot Kings? I think it almost entirely rides on the shoulders of big man Tings. Quig hasn't exactly gotten the most done on Charon, and it's very difficult to utilize Charon defensively. If your ultimate isn't hitting 3 or 4 people, you really don't have awesome AoE CC that's going to stop him from fight. Just a few silences, some HP shields, generally from range as well. So no clear initiation for the Camelot Kings outside of Variety. I'm not sure Variety's surviving the onslaught of damage that is the Highland Ravens now. I'm keeping my eyes on Tings. I'd say Twig too, but Twig's really struggling to find his damage in these fights.
Yeah, I mean, Twig, traditionally known as one of the more setup style of jungler, building hybrid. We've seen him in the last 2 games go Warriors, this time on a full damage assassin.
That's all Camazotz does is damage.
All Camazotz does is damage. Been struggling to find it this game, down low in the damage charts. The only person he is above is the enemy support. He is below even his own support in damage, which is not what you're looking for from the Camazotz that you are maybe want to engage. Highland Ravens, though, they're set up around this tier 2 tower. They've got an Emperor's Armor as well to help them defend this if they want to set something up, but thus far, it's going to be a little bit of damage onto Quig. They'll take it down. They've got a minion wave pushing in, though. Hesitant to press the go button.
Yeah, keep your eyes on those ultimate cooldowns. If Tycho Drum goes down, if Quig's ultimate goes down, there isn't a return kill in exchange. That is the majority of the team fight presence of the Camelot Kings. Only 1 minute left on the Fire Giant, so not too much time they're going to have to endure here. Trying to show some presence.
On the branches, Quig is the focus early on, but the Titan, but the Phoenix rather, that's the focus. Quig falls as well. Venenu into the ultimate, grabs the support, and the space has been made. A 5 versus 4 man advantage. And they've got a wave pushing in as well. Blink in from Haddox. The space in the back is good for another Phoenix and Scream. He doesn't even need the Phoenix. He wants the kills. His team will find the bird. And the pushback from the Camelot Kings is not there. The Highland Ravens take 2 birds and walk out cleanly.
Quig takes so much damage before the fight starts proper. Doesn't even get to utilize the Emperor's Armor to make that Phoenix into a more formidable opponent. The Highland Ravens deal with him quickly and knock down the right side bird just afterward. Camelot Kings gotta find some damage. They need a little bit more. Yarkor's largely single target. I mean, he's just about full build too. 5 items finished, starter item upgraded. Just sitting on that recipe now, waiting on that 6th item. I gotta say, it's Twig. Like, if Twig could just hit Zapman, jump into that back line, force out a relic defensively, go up into the bat out of hell, deal a little bit more damage, reset safely, it would be so much harder for the Highland Ravens to move in towards the Phoenix. But because the only point of contact we've seen is when the Highland Ravens say, all right, I'm ready to initiate, Hurrywin, go in. Hurrywin's getting hit. Haddox is getting hit. I don't think Zapman got touched.
Yeah, Captain Twig is the one getting hit. He's the furthest forward in that fight and doesn't get any additional damage off. Gets picked before a proper fight can even start. that ultimate available as well. Doesn't get to use it, deleted off the map. And the Highland Ravens, they've got the man advantage, and it could not have come at a better time. Fire Giants spawning and 20 seconds away from EFG. We saw them hold this for the EFG the last time. This time around, could be a question of how the fight starts. Into the air goes Scream. BMT is the target. He's already down so low, and the Aegis is not enough to save his life. Scream and Haddock making the space going forward, and Quig turns into the target of the fight. The entirety of the Ravens chasing down the enemy support. Not long for this world is the Charon, and not long for this world potentially is the rest of the Camelot Kings. The Highland Ravens, they'll back towards the Fire Giant.
Scream forced to reset. Had he had just a little bit more HP to play with, maybe we're talking about an end attempt. Instead, pull yourselves back. Get ready for the fire. Enhanced Fire Giant at that. Grab yourself a Stygian Beacon as a victory lap too. Camelot Kings. I mean, the damage is there. Yarkor's hitting his shots. Not enough damage from him to even deal with Scream though. Big man Tings is doing a lot, but hasn't got enough damage between the two of them. Quig, he survives with not a lot of CC. Couldn't exactly peel out for his allies either. Instead, for the most part, was that HP shield enough? No, doesn't seem to be the case. And the Camelot Kings fold under the pressure of the Highland Ravens. EFG on all 5, only one bird still standing. Don't need to break down the siege. We already saw how that one panned out. The Kings, if anything, Hail Mary attempt, group up in the jungle, maybe catch the Highland Ravens rotating back through.
Yeah, I'm trying to find lifelines for the Kings. In game 2, we felt out of ideas, and I think the Kings did too. That was a composition diff. We talked about it. I don't know that they had any lifelines. This time around, I don't think it's a composition diff. I think they have ways of maneuvering this team fight, this siege defense, that are positive for them. Certainly more difficult when behind in golden experience and doing less damage than the enemy team. Like, certainly more difficult when that's the case. But there have to be lifelines for the Kings to try and hold.
They just need to see more from Twig. I really think that is the bulk of it. Upgrade the starter item, Scorching Blink. I mean, that'll do something. The damage output is just not impressive. The Camazotz needs to find some value. I understand it's difficult, especially into something like Khepri. Makes you very hesitant to want to initiate, especially considering how much of that damage is to the target. But you can't let him remove you from the game.
Damage on Variety in mid. A little bit of poke before the team fight will make some additional space for the Ravens. That Phoenix gets demolished as the Runic Bomb utilized by the Ravens. They'll find the left side bird. The other 2 birds remain weak off of respawn. It has to be a perfect fight, a miracle fight from the Kings if they want to win this game, if they want to stand up to this defense. So far, though, it's all Ravens all day. Venenu, he gets taken out, though, and Variety turns things around to start it off. Captain Twig, he's dealing the damage onto Whirlwind and finds his first pick of the game. Zatman tries to turn it back, but a double kill for the Soul Laner. And the Kings, the miracle defense they needed. They lose the birds, but they fight back in the fight.
Unprecedented levels of disrespect from the Highland Ravens on that siege attempt. Screams half HP, goes up in the air and says, look, it's going to be fine. It simply doesn't matter. The Highland Ravens just walk in to the Camelot Kings, dealing with every single bit of their CC, eating every bit of the damage. As you said, Twig gets involved, puts another 3,000 on his belt, does bump him over, or just about over. Quig, who puts out just as much damage in that team fight. I think the Ravens, if they just play it a little bit slower, burn through some of those resources first, things go a lot better. But they still do distract the Camelot Kings. They still do knock down all 3 of the Phoenixes. They still have massive map state advantage. I don't even think the Camelot Kings is going to get anything done off the back of this one. I suppose you got enough of a lead that you're allowed to get a little crazy on Siege, but if that goes any worse than it did, I mean, the Camelot Kings, they might be able to just end the game if the Ravens fumble like that again.
I was certainly, I think disrespect might be putting it, cleanly, because It looked like Scream just didn't care to participate in the fight with the rest of his team.
Did whiff his ultimate on a Yarkor. Maybe things are a little different if he connects there, but even then, you gotta be so worried about Big Man Ting's returning damage from just behind him. I think it was just an ill-thought-out initiation.
Regardless, they grab all 3 Phoenixes. They still have EFG on 2 members here, the 2 divers. Haddix and Scream still maintaining that buff around their waists. Camelot Kings rightfully hesitant to step out of their base. They certainly want to make sure nobody can backdoor. But also, in a way, I kind of feel like they have to be ready for this next Fire Giant. I'm not sure they're in a position where they can afford to give up this next enhanced Fire Giant.
Well, I mean, best data on a team fight they have is fighting into the enhanced Fire Giant Highland Ravens as 5, right? So, walking out of base, I think, maybe the worst idea here for the Camelot Kings. I much prefer their team fight around the Titan. And it's not as if the Highland Ravens have enough damage that they could just walk into the Titan room, even with Fire Giant on all 5,
sure,
and just blow up the Titan. So, yeah, I mean, the Camelot Kings can show some presence, but I think it's very dangerous.
Definitely a risk. They want to come away with a jungle fight here, would be different than the success they found. You see the 3K pops popping. Zatman finds a pot, another pot just now coming through for Venenu, the defense pot, making the Baba a little bit more tanky in these fights. But Camelot Kings are here. There's a minion wave pushing into their base on the left-hand side. In fact, that left-hand Phoenix is about to spawn. They're backing right as the Fire Giant gets pulled. Maybe they're not all the same P's variety backs. I don't know if they're looking for this, but if they are, it might have to be a steal. The Highland Ravens top entirely off it, and nobody is there to protect Tings. He gets left alone. And Captain Twig is a little bit alone on the front as well. Such a disconnected fight from the Camelot Kings, and they get punished for it. Tings falls, Variety falls, and the Highland Ravens pushing down mid.
Such a greedy play from the Kings. They want to send Variety back to base to defend Phoenix and defend the Fire Giant. You just can't do both at the same time. Zatman pops his Aegis and stands still, says, last chance, buddy.
Yarkor certainly finds it to be the last chance, but he doesn't have enough in the tank, and I don't know that the remaining 2 members of the Kings have enough in the tank either. They're on to the Titan, and they're looking for kills instead. Captain Twig to fall. Quig makes his way back to base, but the Titan, the next target. It might be a little bit disrespectful looking for the kills, but in the end, the Highland Ravens clean it up in 3.
I mean, the team fights for a period looked like they might be a bit more even. That game was in control of the Camelot Kings for a while, even in spite of Scream's phenomenal early game. But by the time that first Fire Giant goes down, the first few structures, the team fight completely falls apart. Congratulations to the Ravens. I mean, they made it look easy.
They did. They made it look easy, and they made it look easy with 3 completely different compositions as well.